course, you mentioned DLR, and we're blessed to be joined by one of their team today, someone who's taken a little bit of a break from fighting COVID on the front lines. We might get into a little bit of that later on in the show as well. I'm delighted to invite their captain, Cronin, to the programme. Catherine, you're very welcome.
Hi, thanks a million for having me. Nice to be
No,
here.
our pleasure to have you on the show. It's been a busy 12 months when the rest of us are all locked down. You're hard at work as a job as a nurse. How's that been?
Yeah, it's been good. Obviously, it's been well documented everywhere, with everything with the pandemic at the moment. But like I've said many times, I obviously love my job. I consider myself being lucky to be able to go in to the hospital and do my job like every day. I don't think I'd be a good candidate to work at home. I'd be looking for someone to talk to and go for a walk. So, it has been that bit busier and it has made you appreciate certain things in life. But it's been going good, and look, hopefully if the numbers continue to fall, things will be picking up in the summer, and things can open up that little bit as well.
How good is it to be back on a pitch?
Yeah, it's brilliant. As the girls had mentioned, like we had the season last year, it was a bit disjointed between a few breaks and matches with COVID and 2 false starts to the season actually starting. So this year it just seems there's a little bit more of a clear pathway in terms of a structure in place. Obviously that the 9 teams in the league, the elite, were all actually playing each other in friendlies, whereas I don't know if that happened as clear cut last year. You're playing, maybe boys teams or younger teams or more local teams. So look, it's brilliant to be back training. Very, very lucky. And it's definitely a good outlet for everyone. I think just being able to get out, go training and come home again, it breaks up the day a bit as well. So yeah, it's great to be back and playing. Yeah.
You've had a few new signings as well, Catherine. How are the new girls settling in? Obviously, Niamh and Louise coming from Peamount as well. So some very good players coming to the team. How has it been kind of gelling together with those new signings?
Yeah, look, we've had some brilliant signings this season. As you mentioned, the girls there coming up from Peamount. It's been really good. I think everyone's gelled really well together as a team. There's a good mix of kind of youth and experience now as well. Getting like players from Peamount and things like that coming from a real winning mentality environment can only bring this team on. As I said, yeah, we've had some brilliant signings this year, and I can't wait to see how things go once we get started. But going well so far.
2 that Stephanie didn't mention there, of course, Jess Gleeson has joined the club as well, as has a young goalkeeper from Bohemians. Now, I'm gonna butcher her surname or her name, but Rugil, I don't know how to pronounce her name.
We call her Rigsy.
Yeah.
So she seems like a great prospect. She was one of probably Bo's better players last year. She'll add a little bit maybe to that squad in terms of just a defensive solidity, herself and Jess Gleeson in front of her as well. Yeah,
absolutely. You mentioned Jess. I've played with her a few times throughout the years as well. Just her quality is unbelievable. She's so solid, and she's a great person to have around the dressing room. As you mentioned there, Rigsy coming in from Bowes. I think she's doing well with Eve. The two of them will bounce off each other quite well, even in training and pushing each other. And I've no doubt she'll take her opportunity to get it into that starting team.
There's a fairly big recruitment drive in DLR this year. How's that affected you? Are you confident you're going to get your place this year? Are you confident you're going to be part of that starting 11?
In terms of guaranteeing a starting place, absolutely not. I think there's 2 or 3 people in every position, and do you know what? I've really noticed even the standard has been raised so much. I can't wait to get to training. I want to miss a minute because you really don't know who's going to be in the starting team. You want to be there. You want to perform week in, week out. So as I said, that's really helped the standard coming on. As I said, nobody wants to miss a session or be late. Everyone's up early kicking around, and they want to be in the mix for that starting 11. So who knows who it'll be, to be honest.
I have a couple of questions for both of you, actually, because I think you both have a fairly good perspective on the league over the last 8 or 10 years. I know, Steph, you haven't been in it every one of those years, but you've been aware, you've kept in touch. Catherine, you've been with Raheny, with Shelbourne, or was it just DLR? I can't quite remember.
Raheny and kind of UCD, I suppose, when it was UCD, yeah.
Yeah, but in terms of, I suppose, the quality of players coming through, has the under-17 grade which came in 2018. We've had 3 full years of that, kind of, if you call last year a full year. But seeing those players coming through, and the girls who are maybe 19 and 20 now just haven't had that extra level of quality at a National League level, the 19s coming in now this season, is that going to put pressure on players, and is it going to raise the standards of the teams across the board?
I suppose I'll jump in there. I think particularly because at Peamount we've got quite a few very good young players coming up. Obviously Della Doherty got a great chance, got kind of more chances last year. Becky Watkins as well has been seen within the team, and I think really the young players coming up, of obviously myself and Anya, probably the 2 oldest in the team, they keep us on our toes. We kind of know every week in training that we have to perform, because James is open to give these young players chances if they perform. So I definitely think bringing these young players through and giving them the opportunity to play in the Women's National League is great for the league in general, and great for themselves, because I think it's great for them to know that if they perform well in training and if they work hard, they can get to that level.
Catherine?
Yeah, definitely. I'd have to agree with that. It's a good point to mention that, they have been playing in a, National League setup the last few years, and we've definitely noticed it with the players coming in. I suppose they have their option. Hopefully, if that league gets going as well, it'll give them exposure as well to the senior team, and then maybe bring down that experience as well into the under-19 league as well, because I know they can obviously play for both certain players. So I think it's definitely been a really positive outcome of those leagues. Definitely.
In terms of DLR Waves themselves, you might explain to me a little bit about, I suppose, the reality of the situation in terms of the link with UCD. It was DLR Waves when it was founded back in the first couple of years. It changed to UCD Waves. Now it's back to DLR Waves, but you're still playing in UCD. What is that link, and is there still a kind of a scholarship program like you would have graduated from back in the day?
It's a good question, and I suppose DLR Waves, there is definitely still an affiliation with UCD, as you mentioned. We're Geology in the bowl. The UC Sports Centre has come on board as one of our official sponsors this year as well. I think the plan will be eventually to be fully, a matched team of the men's UC team. I think it's going to be a requirement of teams in the coming years that they have to have a women's team on board as well, which I think is really good. So there definitely is still that link. However, in terms of a name, it hasn't transferred over just yet. So I suppose in the coming years, just see how that goes, and what the plan will be from there. I'm not 100% sure at the minute.
Graham Kelly, of course, got an extension to his contract for a couple of seasons. What's your thoughts on, I suppose, the management team that's there and the coaching staff that's there? It seems to be a fairly positive place at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think even giving Graham that contract, confirming that he's going to be around for the next years has been massive. It's given the girls real stability. John on board with him as well, and brilliant backroom staff and everyone on the team. It is really, really good. As you said, it's a very positive environment at the moment. This will be Graham's 3rd season in the Women's National League, so he definitely has a good hold of of the various teams and players and the overall setup of the league. Also, with John coming from a background involved with the men's Electricity League has been really positive, and that they're expecting certain standards and raising the bar in terms of training sessions and the overall kind of running of the club. So I think that's been huge for us, and it's definitely really positive to see.
Yeah, in terms of, I suppose, your own personal situation, you're a Limerick girl, so you're not a Dublin native, but you've spent most of your adult career, football career at least, playing for Dublin. So any temptation to ever relocate back to Limerick and line out for treaty in the latter days of your career?
Yeah, proud Limerick woman. But as you mentioned, I've been up here for a good while now, between college and everything like that. But I think just with work and everything at the moment, my job, I'm happy where I'm working in Vincent at the moment. So at the moment, it's something I'd be thinking about. But I know you had Marie Curtin on the first show there as well, and she's a great player, and now going into her management role, I'm sure it's a very positive environment, and definitely wouldn't rule it out down the line. You never know.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get a little trip home every now and again out of it towards the latter end of your career. Not that I'm trying to talk you out of leaving, or at all. In terms of, I suppose, what your season is looking like, you have a couple of off-field commitments this year as well. Can we talk about that in terms of nuptials coming later in the year?
Oh, yeah. So I'm getting married in June. So we're going ahead. It coincidentally has fallen on the mid-season break, on a weekend where there's no matches. We could have been in trouble there, running late for the wedding after playing a match, which wouldn't be unusual for me. But so going ahead, and as I said, with everything with COVID at the moment, obviously we would have loved to have had a huge number and include everyone at the wedding, but times are tough for people aren't able to give people send offs at funerals, and there certainly is sadder and more difficult things going on for people at the moment. So we'll just be very lucky to have everyone healthy and happy come June, and make the most of it. Wear the dress for a week and see how we go.
For a whole week, fair play. In terms of, just to go back to, I suppose, your professional career in terms of nursing and being in that environment at the moment, we're all a bit uncertain of what life holds for everybody at the moment, but what have you picked up from that experience over the last 12 months or so in that environment that you might be able to bring into your football career? Or is there anything that's kind of transferable from that over the last year or so?
There definitely is things that I suppose wherever you work you bring into maybe your sporting things, but I suppose just being part of a team, obviously supporting each other. The work environment hasn't been the easiest for the past year, but I've had great colleagues and people around me, making it that bit easier. So if you just transferred that directly over to football, everyone's going through a difficult time at the moment. So to be able to put your arm around the girl on the field with you and just get her through it, and stay strong, and I suppose just that team atmosphere really, and just bringing people along together with you. And I suppose just not taking anything for granted. And I personally be usually nervous before matches or things like that, but I think if you can just maybe focus and just think playing football is something that we're privileged to be able to do, and just go out and enjoy it, and let that be 90 minutes that you can just forget about everything that's going on, and maybe I suppose forget about the pandemic for a while.
Yeah, I think we're really lucky, aren't we, in a way that we have that kind of, I suppose, something to occupy our time. I think that's, for me personally, I think it was hitting a stage where I was getting sick of doing home workouts and doing stuff by myself. So I think we do have to count ourselves very lucky to be able to go out to train with the team and play matches as well. So it's definitely something that I think I personally feel like I'm kind of privileged, as you mentioned, to get out and go play football. It's something you're getting to do what you love. Obviously, I think you have a busier lifestyle than I do at the moment with everything that's going on. But for me personally, I think it's just great to be able to get out and play football.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very lucky.
In terms of the season, DLR Waves, you've recruited well, as we mentioned a couple of times now. What's the ambition for the season? Is a title challenge realistic? Is a cup run something that would be in the back of the locker for you this year?
I think personally, as a team, we all have kind of personal goals, and as a team, we definitely want to be in the kind of top 4 bracket, definitely in the upper half of the table. We will be aiming high, and I suppose we'll have our own goals as well. But we will just keep the head down and try and go under the radar, get the job done, and then hopefully we'll have met the goal of being potentially in the top 4 at the end of the season. As you said, in the cup, anything can happen. But yeah, the aim would definitely be to be a more competitive team this year, be a top 4 side would be the goal. And just get the head down. We're going to focus on ourselves. It can be hard when you're playing the bigger teams, but this year we kind of want to focus on ourselves and the plan, and hopefully we'll do well with that.
Well, listen, thanks very much for joining us, and I wish you the very best of luck. And hopefully we'll be chatting through the season with yourself and your teammates and your coaching staff over the year. The best luck to everyone at DLR for the season ahead. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks a million. Best of luck with the podcast.
Cheers, Catherine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Catherine Cronin there, obviously a huge talent, has been involved in the league probably since year 1, I'd imagine, and was always kind of a prospect well before that as well, with college teams and club teams across the board. Steph, you must know Catherine fairly well at this stage. You've probably played her numerous times as well in your 2 stints in the league.
Yeah, it's funny. I know Catherine, but I don't really know her, if that makes sense. I think obviously you hear of the name and be friends through social media and stuff, but really in terms of actually sitting down and have a chat with her, I probably wouldn't know her quite well. So it's nice I've got her on and kind of had that personal chat. Obviously, I knew she's a nurse. I knew she's a doc. She's working in kind of through the pandemic, and I've seen, as she mentioned, a couple of the different kind of podcasts and articles that she's been involved in. But yeah, really good player over the years, and I think her experience I think will help the DLR this year as well. I think she captained them last year, so she mentioned I suppose the competition within the DLR squad, but I'm sure she'll be pushing to play as much as she possibly can and help them do well this season.